What's up, Strike Team, and welcome back to another episode of Strike Team Official. Today we are going to be talking about defining your core combat kata. Okay, so these are the kata that you train as the main foundation of your practice. So if you are someone who is looking to be able to apply the combative principles and applications of karate, and I mean truly apply them, not just know them on a surface level, it's almost impossible to do that when you're focusing on the large curriculum of most karate systems as a whole, right? There are so many kata in every system of karate that a large amount of your time is taken by memorization and perfection of the kata on a surface level, especially if you are someone who takes pride in all of your kata looking really, really good like I do. Okay, I like when my kata looks real snappy, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort from your training. And if you don't have an unlimited time to train, like if you have a normal job like me, and I'm sure the majority of us on looking at this video do, it is often extremely important to pick a few core kata to be the center of your practice, especially if your goal is to actually master or really be able to apply the application. Okay, learning how to use kata in a real life situation against pressure takes time. And I mean like a lot of time and a lot of reps, right? And that often means you may need to sacrifice some of your focus. Like instead of just doing the repetition and the moment you finish a kata going on to the next one, really delving in and delving down on mastering a specific kata all the way through to the point where you can really apply it. So we're going to go over pretty much how to pick what your core defining combat kata are and how to really focus on that training for you. Okay, so first, we need to take a look at the techniques in each kata and the principles it's trying to teach you. Okay, so katas generally have three areas of application. That's either striking, clinching, or throws and takedowns. Okay, so what type of techniques are you looking to learn? Are you trying to focus on one of these specific styles of applications, or are you trying to, get a mix of it? So personally, if I'm looking for clinch, I like to aim toward katas like the Naihanchis. They're very clinch focused, at least in my interpretation. I really like Naihanchi Shodan and Nidan. Also, the Pinons have a lot of good clinch, but also a lot of good throws, depending on how you interpret it. My personal interpretation, that's how I see those katas. Striking, I like Kanshu, Kanshin, Seichin, Yamsu, Shushiho, even though there are solid throws in those as well and takedowns in those as well, I really like them as striking katas. So it just depends what you're really looking to focus on. Personally, I do a mix of these. I train multiple styles right now. So I'm mostly focused on Kanshu and Kanshin at this exact moment from the style of Ueshiru. But I have also had Naihanchi Shodan and Nidan as well as Pinan Shodan as parts of my core personal curriculum. And I mean, total, that's 5 kata total that I really would consider have ever been part of my deep core personal curriculum. And that's because I really want to focus and be able to apply each of these katas. I can say that Naihanchi Shodan, Nidan, and Pinan Shodan I can apply extremely well. And with Kanshu and Kanshin, those are the ones I'm focusing on right now to truly master those applications and be able to use them in a real situation. Now, I will say if you're having trouble narrowing it down, one tip is to look at the amount of repetitiveness within the katas in your system. Many katas, especially the ones created later on, are just adjusted versions of older katas. It's like katas made easier for kids, such as the Pinons, for example. So when you start looking at how many kata are in your system and which kata you're going to choose, look at the moves that are repetitive and the principles that are repetitive, and maybe try and find a kata that has all those principles in one, a place where you can really focus, and that can really help you narrow it down to say 2 or 3 kata at a time, which is how I like to do it. Keep it small. I'll focus on 2 or 3 kata at a time as my core kata. So the next thing I would look at is the level of interpretation you feel comfortable with for your kata. So depending on the style and the kata itself, the level of interpretation needed to really pull out the applications from the kata will differ. So, for example, due to the history of the Shurite systems and the adaptations karate made as it got popular and went to the school system, there's a lot more confusion about what the kata's original applications actually are. Okay, that leaves a lot up to your own interpretation. And that may be something you're looking for, and that also might make you really uncomfortable. For example, I see the Penons as a very heavy clinch based kata with a lot of judo type techniques. Ian Abernathy, who is the world's most famous expert on applying kata and practical karate, he has my highest respect, and he is one of the main guys who inspired me to really look at this. But I've seen a lot of his applications for the Penons, and we view them totally different. Okay, so our moves only are in the same realm like 50% of the time. So there's a lot of room for interpretation there. I also don't believe that for a lot of these katas that you can actually know what the actual exact right answer is. And personally, I don't really overly care. I focus on what's best for me and what I can apply in a practical situation. And I think you should do the same, especially if you're in a situation where there's a lot of confusion about it in the first place. Mainly, if it works and you can apply it, then do it. That's the most important thing. There's a lot less confusion and a lot less interpretation on the Nahate side because the Nahate styles went through a lot less changes than the Shurate throughout time. And the original applications, and I would say at least the fundamental principles of all the katas are pretty much universally agreed upon throughout the system. It's actually one of the reasons I've been pretty reluctant, one of the reasons I've been pretty reluctant to go over my Weishidu kata on YouTube. Because even though they are the katas I am most proficient at and have the deepest understanding and I can apply them all very well, I felt the applications were a little too obvious, especially for people who are already practicing the system. However, I do think that will change soon as I have found a way, I believe I found a way where I can still go over those katas on the channel and bring a lot of value to everybody watching. And so I do hope to be bringing you guys a lot more Weishidu focused training and YouTube videos in the future. Okay, so now you've gone through the kata in your system. You've picked out 1 to 3 kata that have the kind of techniques and applications and the level of interpretation that you're comfortable with, and you've picked the 3 kata you really want to focus on. Now it's time to train and train properly, which means using the proper training methods. Okay, one of the universal issues in traditional martial arts is the training style. This idea that practicing a kata against the air or 3-step super choreographed sparring with these straight punches to the chest, okay, can alone make you a good fighter or capable of self-defense is a lie. Okay, there's very few times that I want to just straight up call something a lie. This is one of them. Okay, the lack of pressure testing and realism causes a massive gap between systems like karate and, say, Muay Thai, boxing, or wrestling. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do is adapt similar training methods to those systems and bring them into your karate. That can be quite a difficult challenge sometimes. Okay, I hope to upload some videos on the future going over some stuff like that, but it is still important to pressure test anything you are using. If you can't apply it against resistance, you can't use it in real life. And it is also important to notice that many karate moves are not positioned for a mutual fight situation where both people are squared up. So some moves are applied in ways where you would be sucker punched or attacked by surprise, or there might be a wrist grab involved, which you don't see in combat sports and things like that. But that doesn't mean you can't put on gloves and use some creativity, okay, and find some way to drill it live and practically. You have to be able to pressure test it. I've yet to see a karate move that cannot be applied with just a little creativity in a realistic, pressure-tested, true resistance type of way. It is possible. Okay, so I can't really get into the different ways in this video. It would take too long because katas can vary so greatly, but I will be putting in stuff later on this YouTube channel, going over different katas and ways in which you can train them in a practical manner. Another really important one is that you shouldn't be afraid to adjust things or adjust the kata based on your needs. Okay, so traditionalists have this need to put tradition on too high of a pedestal, unless you're doing it specifically, to preserve the art form for the sake of art. That's different. But when it comes for combative purposes, you don't want to put tradition too high on a pedestal. The kata is the foundation, but the application and how you apply it is your own, right? So feel free to play with techniques and maybe some positioning a bit based on your body type and your own physical attributes. Notice that different boxers have different ways of throwing a jab or a cross or an overhand. It's all one technique, right? Based on a specific principle, but they change it to get the desired effect based on their style, their movement, and how they fight. Kata is the same way. So don't be afraid to play with it. It requires adjustment if you want it to work in a live situation. Anyone who tells you a technique can only be used in one specific way. And there's only one way to do it ever when it comes to actual application, is either focused more on tradition than practicality, or they simply don't know what they're talking about. Okay, that's just the truth. That is what it is. Sometimes I will even go as far to not just change the move in like my drilling, but I will actually practice the katas differently when I'm practicing for my personal practice, so that it's actually representing the strategy or the way in which I'm applying the technique for myself, instead of doing it the way they would do it traditionally. Now, I recognize it's not the same as what my actual instructor might be teaching me. That's not how I'm going to present the kata in tournaments or in grading or things like that. But in my personal practice, I'll make whatever changes I feel are best to best improve my own martial art, my own combative ability. All right, so lastly, I want to point out that truly understanding a kata and making it one of your core kata is a deep study. Okay, it can take years to become proficient in the moves of a specific kata. That doesn't mean over time your core kata can't change, though. So, for example, Naihanchi Shodan and Pinan Shodan are some of my favorite kata, and they were part of my core kata for a long time. However, I feel confident enough in my ability to apply the techniques under pressure that I could put them aside for the moment. Okay, so right now I'm focused more on Kanshin and Sanseru from my Weishidu system. So it is okay to rotate your core systems, your core styles, but that should be done very slowly, like over years of training slowly. Because to get truly proficient enough in a technique to use it against a live opponent, it can take hundreds, if not thousands of reps of just one move, right? It's like in wrestling. They practice the shot like this for the single leg takedown over and over and over again. And you need that same thing for karate. So this is not a fast process, especially if you're dealing with a kata that's very intricate, or a kata that has multiple applications for every movement. This could take literally years. Okay, that's why I like to limit my own core kata to maybe 3 at a time, so I can really take the time to delve in and study them. And personally, it usually takes me around 2 years, sometimes longer, to really feel proficient enough in a core kata that I believe I could use the technique in a live situation. Especially because I like to be able to use this technique not just in a self-defense situation, but also feel comfortable enough that I could use it in a, say, sports situation, even if it's just sparring, because I really want to know I can use it for real, and it's not just like this fantasy in my head where I think I can do something that I can't do. So it's really important that you practice, and then some more practice, okay, and gain true skill. And learn the techniques in truth. Learn karate in truth. So you're not just a black belt on paper, and so you truly understand and know your art. Especially if you're someone who's learning karate for the sake of actually being able to defend yourself in a real situation. All right, guys. So that's enough for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to follow both my journey here in Japan, my competition journey, and also my conversations about martial arts and kata breakdowns and things like that, please hit that like and subscribe button below. Hit that notification button as well. I appreciate you guys. I am a new channel, so if you share this with your martial arts school or anyone else you know who might be interested, I would really appreciate it. Please share, post on your Facebook and Instagram, whatever. I need all the help I can get as a new channel. But yeah, I appreciate you all, and I will see you next time. Peace.